Did you know that the book of Revelation mentions 4 intriguing women? Each of them carries powerful symbolism and may represent different aspects of our spiritual lives. In this video, we will explore these enigmatic figures and understand how they can influence us. So, as you watch, ask yourself, with which of these 4 women do I identify the most? Your answer could be crucial for your destiny. Stay tuned until the end and discover the valuable lessons these biblical figures have to offer. We've included bonus information halfway through the video to help you understand better, so stay with us. Let's start with the first woman, Jezebel. We find her mentioned in Revelation chapter 2, verse 20, where Jesus warns the church in Thyatira, "Nevertheless, I have this against you. You tolerate that woman Jezebel, who calls herself a prophet. By her teaching, she misleads my servants into sexual immorality and the eating of food sacrificed to idols." Jezebel symbolizes corruption within the church, a figure who presents herself as religious but actually promotes immorality and idolatry. In the Old Testament context, Jezebel was the wife of King Ahab and introduced Baal worship in Israel, leading God's people astray. Her negative influence resulted in severe judgment from God. This story emphasizes the importance of maintaining the purity of faith and avoiding practices that contradict God's word. Jezebel reminds us of the danger of allowing immoral behaviors to infiltrate our spiritual lives. It is a call to vigilance and repentance. If you notice areas in your life where you have allowed compromises that distance you from the truth, it's time to turn to God and seek renewal. You may see yourself as a Christian but are struggling with temptations or practices that go against Christ's teachings. Jezebel warns us of the need to examine our lives and distance ourselves from negative influences that can lead us to fall. Her example is a reminder of how insidious corruption can be and the importance of remaining faithful to God. The second woman is the woman clothed with the sun, described in Revelation chapter 12, verses 1 to 2. A great sign appeared in heaven, a woman clothed with the sun, with the moon under her feet and a crown of 12 stars on her head. She was pregnant and cried out in pain as she was about to give birth. This woman is often interpreted as the nation of Israel, God's chosen people. She represents the fulfillment of divine promises and the struggle against evil forces. In her state of pregnancy, she symbolizes the anticipation of the Messiah and the promise of salvation. The persecution she suffers from the dragon represents the constant attacks of the enemy against God's people. If you identify with this figure, you may feel that you are in a spiritual battle, awaiting the fulfillment of God's promises in your life. This woman teaches us about perseverance and hope amidst difficulties. In the biblical context, the woman clothed with the sun can also be seen as a symbol of the church, which is persecuted but protected by God. This encourages us to remain firm in faith, even when we face opposition. The final victory belongs to the Lord, and this woman is a reminder that God's promises will be fulfilled in due time. She represents hope and trust in God's sovereignty amidst tribulations. The third woman is the great prostitute, described in Revelation chapter 17, verses 1 to 5. One of the 7 angels who had the 7 bowls came and said to me, "Come, I will show you the punishment of the great prostitute, who sits by many waters. With her, the kings of the earth committed adultery, and the inhabitants of the earth were intoxicated with the wine of her adulteries." This figure symbolizes a false and corrupt religious system that deceives the nations. It represents apostasy and the betrayal of true Christian principles. Babylon in the Bible is often associated with rebellion against God and idolatry. The fall of Babylon is a prophesied event marking the destruction of evil and the vindication of the righteous. This figure warns us of the need to separate from the world and its corrupt practices. If you find yourself in situations that compromise your faith, it's crucial to remember that faithfulness to God is rewarded and that evil will eventually be defeated. The great prostitute warns us of the deception of false doctrines and the importance of spiritual discernment. Studying this figure, we see that she represents not only religious corruption, but also political and economic influence that seduces and corrupts. This reminds us that our commitment to God must be total, without yielding to the temptations of power and wealth. The fourth woman, and the most anticipated, is the bride of Christ. In Revelation chapter 19, verses 7 to 8, we read, "Let us rejoice and be glad and give him glory. For the wedding of the Lamb has come, and his bride has made herself ready. Fine linen, bright and clean, was given her to wear. Fine linen stands for the righteous acts of God's holy people." The bride of Christ represents the true church, purified and ready for the Lord's coming. If you identify with this figure, it is a sign that you are seeking to live a life of holiness and obedience to God. The bride of Christ inspires us to maintain our faith and prepare for Jesus' return. This involves living according to principles of justice, holiness, and love. The wedding supper of the Lamb is an image of eternal celebration with God, where those who remained faithful will be rewarded. Identifying with the bride of Christ is a call to a life of devotion and service. It means always being ready, eagerly awaiting the day we will be with the Lord forever. This figure symbolizes hope and future glory for those who faithfully follow Christ. The story of Jezebel in the Old Testament is a powerful example of how idolatry and corruption can destroy a nation. Jezebel, as Queen of Israel, introduced Baal worship and persecuted God's prophets, leading the people astray. In Revelation, she is a symbol of how corruption can infiltrate the church and mislead the faithful. Jezebel warns us of the danger of allowing immoral practices and idolatry into our lives. Her story is a call to vigilance and the need to remain faithful to God, distancing ourselves from negative influences. The woman clothed with the sun, in addition to representing Israel, can also be seen as a symbol of the church, which is persecuted but protected by God. She is clothed with the sun, with the moon under her feet and a crown of 12 stars on her head, symbolizing God's glory and authority. Her struggle against the dragon represents the ongoing battle between good and evil. The woman clothed with the sun encourages us to remain firm in faith, even when facing opposition and persecution. She reminds us that the final victory belongs to the Lord and that, despite difficulties, God's promises will be fulfilled in due time. The great prostitute, or Babylon, is a complex symbol of deception and corruption. Babylon in the Bible is often associated with rebellion against God and idolatry. In Revelation, she represents a worldly system that opposes God and persecutes Christians. The fall of Babylon is a prophesied event, marking the destruction of evil and the vindication of the righteous. This figure warns us of the need to separate from the world and its corrupt practices. If you find yourself in situations that compromise your faith, it's crucial to remember that faithfulness to God is rewarded and that evil will eventually be defeated. The bride of Christ, on the other hand, is a symbol of hope and glory. The church, as the bride, is called to prepare for Jesus' return. This involves living according to principles of justice, holiness, and love. The wedding supper of the Lamb is an image of eternal celebration with God, where those who remained faithful will be rewarded. Identifying with the bride of Christ is a call to a life of devotion and service. It means always being ready, eagerly awaiting the day we will be with the Lord forever. Each of these four women in the book of Revelation offers us valuable lessons. Jezebel warns us against internal corruption and the need for purity. The woman clothed with the sun reminds us of hope and perseverance amidst trials. The great prostitute warns us about the deception of false doctrines and the importance of discernment. And finally, the bride of Christ inspires us to live a life of holiness, awaiting the glorious return of Jesus. Therefore, as you reflect on which of these women best represents your spiritual life, strive to align yourself with the bride of Christ, living in a way that glorifies God and is ready for the Lord's day. May God bless you for watching and meditating on these profound truths. Now, a glory without end bonus, with eschatological studies and some curiosities surrounding this subject. Number 1. Jezebel. An interesting curiosity is that the name Jezebel means not exalted or not married, which is ironic given her role as a powerful and influential queen. Additionally, Jezebel is known for her role in Naboth's conflict, where she manipulated events so that her husband, King Ahab, could take possession of Naboth's vineyard. She forged letters in the king's name and orchestrated false accusations of blasphemy against Naboth, resulting in his execution. This act of cruelty and injustice further reinforces her image as a figure of corruption and evil. Number 2. Woman clothed with the sun. Besides her symbolism as Israel and the Church, some scholars also interpret the woman clothed with the sun as a representation of Mary, the mother of Jesus, due to her role in giving birth to the Messiah. This interpretation is particularly strong in Catholic tradition, where Mary is often seen as the woman mentioned in Revelation 12. The image of the pregnant woman facing the dragon also symbolizes Mary's and the Messiah's struggle against the forces of evil from the beginning of Jesus' life to his ascension. Number 3. Great prostitute, Babylon, besides symbolizing Rome, also represents all great civilizations that oppose God throughout history. In Jewish apocalyptic literature, Babylon is often a metaphor for any oppressive system. An interesting curiosity is that the description of Babylon being destroyed in 1 hour, Revelation chapter 18 verses 10, 17 and 19, resonates with the swiftness and surprise with which God's judgment can fall on an apparently indestructible empire. This serves as a powerful reminder of the transience of human power compared to the eternity of God's kingdom. Number 4. Bride of Christ. The image of the bride of Christ preparing herself with fine linen, symbolizing the righteous acts of the saints, also has roots in Jewish wedding culture. In biblical times, the bride's preparation included a period of sanctification and purification, reflecting the Church's spiritual preparation for Christ's second coming. Additionally, the wedding supper of the Lamb refers to Jewish wedding feasts, which were prolonged celebrations filled with joy. This metaphor underscores the profound and joyful union between Christ and the Church, an eternal celebration of redemption and communion. Throughout history, many scholars have debated the meaning of the feminine figures in Revelation. Jezebel, the woman clothed with the sun, the great prostitute, and the bride of Christ are symbols that transcend their literal descriptions and offer a rich insight into the nature of faith and spiritual struggle. Each of these figures challenges us to reflect on our own spiritual journey and make choices that draw us closer to God. They remind us of the importance of discerning the truth, persevering in faith, and living according to principles of justice and holiness. Therefore, at the end of this video, reflect on which of these 4 women best represents your spiritual life. Jezebel warns us of the dangers of internal corruption and immorality. The woman clothed with the sun reminds us of hope and perseverance amidst difficulties. The great prostitute warns us about the deception of false doctrines and the need for spiritual discernment. And finally, the bride of Christ inspires us to live a life of holiness, awaiting the glorious return of Jesus. Before we end this video, we would like to hear your opinion. Which of these 4 figures mentioned in Revelation intrigues you the most, or with which do you identify the most? Is it Jezebel, the woman clothed with the sun, the great prostitute, or the bride of Christ? Leave your comment below and share why you identify with that figure. Your participation is very important to us. We want to know how these powerful biblical figures resonate with your life and faith. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel, give this video a like, and activate the notification bell to receive updates on new content. Share this video with your friends and family so they can also reflect on these fascinating biblical characters. May God bless you for watching and meditating on these profound truths. See you in the next video.